Why do foreigners become more successful than Americans? Okay, before you get yourself all twisted up in a knot, I'm not saying why do all foreigners become more successful than all Americans. My question really is, why do some foreigners come and become more successful than most Americans? And the idea behind this is that when you have a situation of a person who comes from a place of being deprived of opportunities, and when that person arrives in an environment where they allow themselves to see nothing but opportunity, their commitment is much greater than the person living there who refuses to see opportunity and takes everything for granted. This is what I'm saying. It's something like the so-called physically handicapped or so-called disabled. Many times a disabled quote-unquote person has an unfair advantage over the quote-unquote normal person because the commitment and the determination to prove him or herself on the part of someone who's quote-unquote disadvantaged or disabled is much more intense than that of a person who has all of their faculties in a normal state, shall we say. So that the so-called disadvantaged or disabled person has something to prove, and they are committed. They have a fierce commitment and therefore a consistency that cannot be broken until they achieve the goal of showing the world that they can do just as much and even more than a person who has all of their faculties and all of their abilities to their disposal, who in most cases takes it for granted. In a like sense, when a person comes over here from another country, barely speaking the language, leaving a country where they may have not had the same opportunities as they have over here in the United States, sees opportunity where the person who has been living in the United States all of his or her life turns away from the opportunity and takes everything for granted. That person who comes over and sees opportunity for the first time that they had not seen before develops an intense determination in many cases to succeed more than the person who has been living in the United States all of their lives. Now, I don't have to go very far with this example because I have a very close friend of mine who demonstrated to me what the power of determination is when a person comes over from another country with a vision greater than the person who is over here all of their lives. I want to give you the story of Winston Merchant. Let me tell you about Winston Merchant. I met Winston when I had a party balloon store in Los Angeles, California, back in, I think it was like 1982 or 1983. And Winston at that time was 26 years old. He had just arrived to the United States from Ecuador. He barely spoke English, but he was very bright, energetic, and ambitious. And he told me when he was working for me in my balloon and party store, he said, "Charles, I have experience working in a dental lab preparing the prosthetics for people who need false teeth. I provide these prosthetics for the dentists who place the order for me to supply to their patients. I did this in Ecuador. I learned the skill, and I want to do this here, and I want to start a business of my own, creating dental prosthetics for dentists here in the United States." Now me, in all of my vast knowledge of the United States and knowing what's possible and what's not possible, thinking that I was going to save him some disappointment and heartache. I said, Winston, I don't know if you should really think about this because, well, you don't know the English, you don't have connections, you don't have any money. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard for you to compete with the people who are already here. Okay, this was my advice. Mr. Know-it-all, who has all the answers. That's why you can't listen to some people, you know. So anyway, Winston worked for me for like another year. And then after that, he left me, and I lost contact with him. The last I heard, he began to work in a dental lab helping a technician in creating prosthetics. So he found a job and somebody hired him to do this. Now, here comes the interesting part. Winston got married. He married a U.S. citizen, and during the time that he was working at the dental lab in Los Angeles, working for someone else. Fast forward 20-some years, 25 years, and I'm sitting in a food area at a large mall in Los Angeles, California, when a 50-year-old man walks up to me, and Winston, very short, the same height as Winston, much a little older with some grays, saying, Charles, how are you doing? Telling me in some very good English, how are you? I speak Spanish as well, and we spoke Spanish when he was working for me, but to show off that he had learned quite a bit of English, he said, Charles, how are you doing? I said, Winston, it's so good to see you. And he said, this is Linda, my wife, and this is my daughter, Ashley. She's 13. And I was with my daughter at the time, Emily, who was, I think, like maybe 16. And so we began to talk, and he says, I'd like to invite you over to my house. I bought a house in Simi Valley. Now, let me tell you something. In Southern California, Simi Valley is considered one of the high cost properties in Southern California. This is like the upper echelon of housing when you say that you're living in Simi Valley. So I said, yes. So he takes me over to his house, and he told me that he had opened up his own dental lab. The house that he showed me was like 5 bedrooms and probably worth about $4 or $5 million. He told me that his dental lab, where he took me to, he totally paid out. It's like $500,000. He said he paid out his dental lab, and he owned it free and clear, and that he has clients all over Simi Valley. Some of the wealthiest people in Southern California are his clients. And Winston, I got the sense, was probably making $1 million a year in his business, working along with his wife and his 2 sons. Winston became a millionaire in 20 years because he didn't listen to Charles Prosper. Okay? He didn't listen to Charles Prosper telling him that he couldn't do this because of all of the disadvantages that were facing him when he first came here. So that taught me a lesson, that you can't listen to people telling you what you can and you can't do. And as a result of this, I became much more humble in trying to tell people what they can or can't do. So that when I say that why foreigners sometimes become much more successful than most Americans is because their commitment is greater. And then I asked Winston, I said, Winston, how did you do this? Did you go to a lot of seminars and workshops? He says, no, I never went to any seminars and workshops. Did you read the book Think and Grow Rich? He said, no, I never read any book on Think and Grow Rich. And I said, well, how did you do it? What was your secret? And he answered me in Spanish. He said, La constancia. And those of you who know what La Constancia means in Spanish, it means consistency. He said his secret was consistency and commitment. And he said that he just kept moving forward. He didn't know exactly what he was going to do, but he had the intention to do it. He was willing to do whatever it takes. When he came across a problem, he solved it. When he came across an obstacle, he overcame it, learned by it, and kept moving forward, and kept moving forward, until he got to the point where he achieved his goal of not only having a dental lab, but a successful dental lab that made him a millionaire. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that commitment and consistency is the secret, no matter what your situation is. So I offer this example to you to show you that when a person is willing to do whatever it takes, it doesn't matter how they start out. And I do this video, I get a little choked up while doing this video. I'm doing this video in dedication to Winston, in the memory of Winston, because during COVID, we lost Winston during COVID, which COVID took his life, and he didn't make it. He was 56, but he left his legacy with his two sons and his wife, and which they continue on with the business of the dental lab technician. You just can't listen to people when they tell you can't do something. And so I just think about Winston, and I just get a little overwhelmed. So anyway, this is yours truly, Charles Prosper, wishing you to stay consistent and be successful, and don't listen to the naysayers, no matter who they are. I hope you really got a lot from the story of Winston's success and how he made it through his own consistency and commitment and willing to do whatever it takes, in spite of all the obstacles that faced him when he first came here to the United States. So, with that said, I'd like to invite you to become a member of my community of consistent-minded people at the Prosper Consistency Success website, where you will become a part of a family where we help each other remain consistent until we achieve our goals. And one of the benefits is that you will be assigned an accountability partner who will help you stay focused until you achieve your goal. And additionally, there will also be live coaching calls where you can call in and get answers to whatever problems or questions that you may have. And we also have occasional guest speakers that come in and give us fresh new insights on prosperity, success, and consistency. So without further ado, I would invite you to go right now to www.consistencysuccesscoach.com, and you will be glad that you did. And if you enjoy these videos and if they help you in any kind of way, I ask that you help me extend my reach by smashing that like button. And if you would like to get notification of every new video that I produce, just hit the subscribe button and you will be notified. So before I go, as I always like to wish you, stay consistent and be successful.